Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to our Green Cities Cleanup Crew Challenge here on the PS4. And I've been thinking quite a bit between episodes about this entranceway to our city over here. It's on slow speed at the moment, so speed up a little bit. I think we can dramatically improve this. It does mean kind of relocating our industry. But if I zoom out and do that so we can see, we've got all this space over here and no kind of natural route to get around there. And we don't have an access point to the freeway there because we don't have access to that tab. So it would have to come from here. So what I've been thinking is where at the moment we have our roundabout like this, and we have this tiny little short stubby road just there, which then links up to this and then splits our traffic this way towards the industry, and we also have a little direct route just here as well. What I've been thinking is that we kind of, if I just draw a road for a second, we kind of take a road from here, a main road, and we just kind of run it out down to about here and relocate our industry somewhere over here in that area there. And just have a main road that kind of runs through that, and then we could maybe put a little bit of residential in this spot here where our current industry is, relocate our current industry up to this where we can really expand it a bit. And by doing that we can also then take out this road here, which means we could also maybe take this connection out a little bit and just get rid of this short stubby little kind of junction here. Which isn't really doing us any favours. So we could look at reworking this whole connection along here and have a main road that kind of comes off on this side into this part of the city. I don't know. I've been umming and ahhing about it a little bit. I think this whole area up here will need a bit of a redevelopment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to draw out a new industrial area over here. With plenty of room to expand as our city continues to grow. And then we can kind of just see what the framework would look like, and then we can look at routing off here and then coming around this way. So we've actually got, we could do some terraforming in this space here where our current geothermal stations are. Again, they could be relocated. We could bring a road up through here and we could smooth this out a bit so that it's not this sudden, quite sharp cliff face just here. And then feed into our area somewhere around here. So if we start off, let's put in, say, a roundabout just here. So let's start off with a nice, straightforward, decent-sized roundabout. In fact, actually, I want to try and get this straight if I can. So let's try and zoom in. Try and get my cursor lined up as best I can. That looks pretty square. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Trying to make sure that I keep a straight line against that border, because I've got nothing to pivot to at the moment. And our industry is going to be very organised in terms of, you know, road shaping. It's going to be very grid-like. That looks pretty straight. So let's drop a road in there like that. There's our guide road. I want the sort of entranceway to be about here. So let's drop this down like this. Let's bring a road off about here. Like that. And then I want my roundabout to be somewhere over here. If we put the roundabout in here, I think. Let's go with a decent-sized roundabout. So that's half. Let's go slightly bigger than half. Like that. And curve. I've done that. Probably, I think the direction of the traffic, I think, is probably the wrong way round. We might have to change that. Yes, we're on right-hand traffic, so that roundabout's going the wrong way round. We'll have to change direction. Let's do that now before I forget, because I will forget. There we go. So that's our main roundabout coming into the estate. We'll have a sort of a main road that peels off from this angle here, and I'm actually going to have a sort of a half distance. Can I go completely straight up here? Not quite. It's bending ever so slightly. Had it for a second then. It's 45 degrees and slightly angled. This is where it gets a bit tricky. I'm going to use the camera to rotate. Yeah, that looks good. That's pretty much spot on. That's going to be my area of approach. So the road will come down here and then curve sort of down into this area here, so it can then run along and connect up to that roundabout. And we'll have that as kind of a highway kind of speed. So it won't go straight off like that, it'll probably curve off, but that'll be the point of entry into the roundabout. And then we'll have a roundabout that comes into the estate on that way, and then an exit coming out of the estate, which will come this way. Actually, might be, yeah, we'll change it the other way around. We'll have the in-way looking at the direction of traffic. We'll have the intake going out this way, which will then split off all the way through here, throughout the park, and we'll have other roundabouts in other places as well. And then all of the traffic will kind of route back to this roundabout here, and then loop around to here, and boom, out of the area. So theoretically, we should never really need anything using that connection, but we'll leave it there anyway. So now we need to kind of work out our park layout over here. This will be a main road that kind of feeds through. It might even be a 3-lane highway that feeds up to that roundabout. The roundabout itself is going to need to be freeway. Let's make that upgrade now. Like that. This will be one-way feed into the roundabout, like that. There we go, feeding up to the roundabout and then feeding the traffic out. Might not even need to be 3-lane, it could just be 2-lane. Let's try it with 2-lane. Oh, still on change direction. There we go, have a two-lane sort of feed that way. I don't know if I'm going to keep the barriers, they're there just for now. Just so I can quickly and easily see what's freeway and what isn't. I think this might be a good place for a roundabout just here. So if I try and put in a roundabout here. Let's go curved. This will just be a small roundabout. I need to take that piece out. There we go. Have that feeding in there. Again, we'll probably have a small roundabout somewhere around here as well. We plonk that in just here. like that. Feed that in. And then our traffic will feed off this way and start splitting off. So again, we'll have a main road that kind of runs down here and kind of feed off into little sort of areas in here. So we put one in here. Actually, no, I've got an idea. If we kind of go a bit further in, if we go maybe up here like this, loop across this way, loop back down, and then we can have side roads in normal road type coming off the side here and filling up some of these spaces. I want to leave gaps as well, so I can put in, you know, decorative areas like little plazas perhaps, or feeding area, not feeding areas, you know, like a park of some description, or, you know, a rail access point or a tram access point or something, some kind of transport link, so we can actually get people into this area to work, because that's obviously going to be critical as well. So I'll have a little business park just here. And we can then specialise these a little bit as well. So this one could be standard industry, or, you know, we could drop a load of trees in and make that a lumber industry. We could have an IT business park over here. You know, we've got options in how we can go about doing that. So again, we'll need a roundabout somewhere about here. That's our halfway point. So this is where the roundabout needs to be. And again, right-hand traffic means traffic's going to go that way, anti-clockwise. Straighten that out. And there we go. And all the way we're doing this, we're keeping our roads one way. So we're feeding the traffic through different areas in a way that'll control how it's sort of all laid out. We can have a nice little sort of loop that comes off here. That'll obviously go the other way around, but if we maybe have that out to there and across and then down like that, we've got another little sort of area we can have there. We could even maybe put little one-way roads to, or dual directional roads to feed off on the side over here, perhaps. Again, we can get traffic to feed out this way and then around and loop into this area here. And then this could be an area where we could, you know, have traffic peeling off here into a rail freight hub, which could then run along here and kind of replace where our tram network is at the moment, and that could run along the edge there. I'm just trying to remember where our rail point is. Yeah, see, the rail point's all the way over there, so it would make sense for us to peel the rail off and feed up along the edge here, and then feed into a hub just here for our freight traffic. So we've got a way to ship that freight out of the city quickly. And of course, if we build it in sections like this as well, it gives us space to expand into this area here. We could potentially expand into this space here. We can expand on this side. We can expand down here. We can expand over here. We can certainly expand in this area over here. And we can just drop in little bits of extra sort of zoning for our industry as things grow up. I think we could also relocate maybe our power network over here, so we could have our power stations and our updrafts over here sort of moved to this area. So it gives us some nice little options there. I do like the idea of having the rail freight hub over here actually, so let's plan that in. We want to kind of go up to here maybe, and then go across, then loop back down again. And then if we go to rail, have we actually got access to that yet? We should do. Yes, we do. So we can put our cargo terminal in just here. And see, we've got a bit of a terrain issue at the moment, so let's actually smooth this out a bit first, if we can. Take those roads out. Let's go to our terraforming. We want to flatten the terrain. So let's pick a point, say here, about halfway up the hill, and let's flatten that out. And across towards here as well, we flatten that out. There we go. And now we've got quite a steep little incline here, but we can put a tunnel in. So our railway actually goes underneath, and that could basically then just run underground all the way through here. And we could leave it underground and then sort of bring it out here somewhere. So that it then connects into the rail network over there. And that way it's a completely underground rail network. We wouldn't see it on the top of the screen, and we could run it directly underneath the freeway that we're running to our main sort of traffic entrance. Let's try that instead. See how that works out. So our flat area starts about here. That's good. So we take that point there. We run our road out to say there. Run it across to there, and then how would that look on the way back in? A little bit of a climb going up. Yeah, we could get away with that. Let's put that rail hub back in. And there we go, and that's flattened out at that end there to match the terrain, so that's nice and smooth. That's all smooth there. Space to run that straight into the hillside just at that entrance just there. That could work quite nicely, I think. The only thing I'm not sure about is that road. It looks a little bit it looks a bit bumpy, doesn't it? All kind of laid out like that. This is the drawback to doing our sort of planning on a hillside here without kind of going in and pre-deforming the terrain. Yeah, we'll leave it for now, but we can always maybe rip that up and try and smooth things out a bit going forward. So I think we've got a nice kind of framework over here. We would need to make sure we've got piping running throughout this area. So we cover our water connections like this, and this is just going to be a more traditional style of laying my pipe like this, where I try to just get as effective and efficient a grid layout of water pipes as possible to maximize coverage and minimize the amount of pipe actually needed. There'll be certain points where we're going to need to drop in some service buildings as well, such as police, fire, so on and so forth. We'll figure those out as we go. And we'll drop in some preemptive piping on this side as well. Drop that in like that. Let's extend that out a bit so it's all meeting up. Go and run that down there and there and there. So everything there is now connected. Obviously it's not connected to anything over here, but it's not too far to run our pipes out that way from here. Let's do it from this corner piece. And we'll just make this the temporary connection. We can actually come up with something a little bit more elegant as and when we need to, but that works for now. Now we need to kind of pause. This whole episode, I think, is just going to be relocating our industry over to this area. So the first thing we need to do is start moving these power units over here. Let's actually build a road so we've got access to those. I wonder if I bring a road off here. Thinking I might make that dual direction. So we would need that to go like that. There we go. If we do that, that way we can run traffic out of the area pretty quickly. It's about the halfway point, I think. And I'm thinking halfway just in terms of distance between the two roundabouts for traffic build-up more than anything else. So let's create sort of a road for our power units to get placed alongside. Let's relocate the geothermal plants. Of course, this is going to break power connections as well, so we're going to need to run some cabling. I wonder, can I get those to fit? Not quite. Not unless I were to bring the road further out, which I kind of don't really want to do at this point. That's okay. Maybe what I could do is I could put some emergency services either side of Chapman Street there. For police on one side, fire on the other. Maybe even have a medical centre up here as well, in that sort of area. Again, so that we've got ambulance cover up here. It's certainly going to need it, and not having them will have a not necessarily a negative effect on our area, but it will certainly stop stuff from growing. See if I can just move these over a space. There we go, and that gives me room to just extend the road along here. And now I can put these updraft towers in this space. Like that. We'll sort out a power connection in a moment. That's very, very steep because we terraformed that to be able to fit the thermal generators in there in the first place. All this needs to go. We're going to need to get rid of our tram line as well. That's going to need some major reworking. Might do that next time out. Let's just get everything up and running first of all. All of this over here. Take that building out, take the path out. I've got some incinerators over here. We'll need to move those. Yeah, I can put the incinerators over here. Plonk those there like that. Let's get in some services, some emergency stuff over here. So we want police and fire. We'll go with large units because, you know, it's a big old area up here. So we want good coverage, but we'll go with just a small health centre. I'm going to find somewhere I can squeeze that in. I can get it in there, but I don't really want to plonk it next to incinerators. So let's try moving these across. Does that leave me room to then turn that on its side? Not quite. It's a little frustrating. So instead, let's just move this completely out of the way for a second. Let's put the fire station, which is probably the one that's more important in this area, if I'm honest. Let's put that there on that angle. That should save a bit of space. There we go. Now we can put the police in, and now we can get the ambulance area, you know, our health centre just there on the edge, like so. Right, so we've got the emergency stuff, our power stuff, our waste management stuff up there. We might need an extra incinerator, but we'll leave it like that for now. And we've got our access point sorted over there. Let's draw in some little zones up here, some districts to split out our industry. Let's go with a small tool. Let's get lined up. There we go. So this is going to be a zone. Along here. And this will probably be an IT cluster in this space over here. I'm not planning on building on this side of the road, but I'll zone it in just for now. We can always switch that out later. Let's fill the zone in. There we go. So we've got a district just there. We've got a district over here as well. So let's start zoning here. Kind of push that up and across. There we go. So we've got a little unit of space over there that we could do something with in Grove Heights. We'll have another one over here. And we've got the possibility of extending that slightly over there, haven't we? So let's just continue to push that out. We could even put offices up here and have a bit of a business park up here as well as the IT centre. You know, just sort of mix our options up a little bit. And let's draw in a district over here. Oh, I've made that part of Grove Heights, haven't I? Oops. Let's break that connection there. And break it across there as well. There we go. Now this, that's still Grove Heights, isn't it? I'm going to have to get rid of all of that. I'm just going to make that a little bit messy. We'll tidy up afterwards. Paint that in. Draw that down. Let's just push this up a little bit. Just so we get rid of that really ugly, thick, white kind of merge line just over there. Looks like our aim has got slightly skewed. It's probably because we actually measured up on the side of a hill, which doesn't help. Let's push this out a little bit. There we go, just straighten that line up a bit. There we go. So we've got some nice, neat kind of boundaried areas over here. This doesn't need to have a district, but I suppose we could put some offices in there, maybe along the side here on the approach. Probably wouldn't have a particularly good land value if there's freight traffic rumbling through there all the time. I don't know. We'll leave that like that for now. Leave it blank. But that's 3 distinct areas that we've got just there. Each one that we can zone with our own sort of special properties. More Heights will probably end up becoming our main sort of freight area. Or maybe Grove Heights might be up. Actually, Grove Heights would be better as our main freight area, because we can then kind of split off this way and expand down here as well. So let's go in and just extend our district down. This side. I think our cursor has got a little bit wonky. I'm not sure. It just doesn't feel straight. Feels like it's at a slight angle. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. It might again be the perspective being slightly forced or slightly different because we're on that slope. But if we make this our main sort of standard industry area over here, again we'll have a kind of a ring road that runs around the edge of the area, runs through Grove Heights. We can link up in various different areas to kind of push traffic out. Have a cut through just there. Let's move that in a little bit. Go to there. We can run a road along here. And we can bypass certain parts of the loop so that we can try and funnel traffic out to that roundabout a little bit quicker. There we go. We've got a nice, good size sort of industrial spacing in this block over here. Let's put in a connecting road across here as well. There we go. And then we could split this, perhaps, or we could leave that blank, put something in there. I don't know. I'll leave that space like that for now. And let's change the direction of this road now as well. Let's flip that around like that. There we go. So that now feeds, you know, this first part of traffic will feed out that way, and then other traffic can feed out through this road here. So we'll have 2 kind of exit points from this block here onto this road, feeding into this roundabout, which can then feed out this way. Yeah, I like that. I like that indeed. And then, as I say, this will be, just put a cap on the loop at the moment. Upgrade. This will be one way around here, which again will loop into the roundabout. Like that. And we can put maybe a logging industry or something in there. So there's our basic kind of layout for our industrial area. We can also feed residential traffic in this way, you know, from whatever we have sort of built out over here house-wise. We can have a feed in on this side of the park as well, and then we've got our sort of main road which will feed directly to this roundabout. That will be our sort of main loop in and out of the city for our traffic, you know, for our freight traffic. So we're going to take all of these buildings out. We're going to rip all of this industry up. This is going to mess up our city's balance dramatically when we get everything restarted. But once everything kind of balances out, I'm hoping it will be definitely worth it. It will also take a little while for this area to clean itself in terms of the ground pollution, but it does mean that we can potentially start to expand our commercial and residential interests in this area a little bit as well. So just get rid of all the buildings, take out the entire area. I know we could just remove the roads and let the stuff despawn, but I want to have everything in place and everything kind of planned out before we restart time to minimise just how screwed up our city is going to be in terms of duration of time. This entire route here is going to need to be removed, which is going to have a big knock-on negative impact on our citizens, but so be it. Delete the entire line. There we go. Take all this out. Oops. Please don't say I can't reconnect. Oh, I was worried. I was very worried. That needs to be freeway. I was worried we wouldn't be able to reconnect, and that junction or that join point might be considered outside of the area. We've had that issue before in the past on some maps where you take out a connection and then you can't physically reconnect to it. So you've just got a broken connection that, unless you restart or reload checkpoint, you're stuck with. You're screwed. I was really worried that that might be the case here as well. Let's take all of this out. I'm going to leave this section in for now. Don't want to do too much in terms of change. Take that out. Take out the buildings, the path, footbridge, this footbridge. Anything else that needs to come out? Random building there. Okay, let's go to our landscaping tools. We want as large and strong an area as we can. We need to re-smooth all this. And make it even shallower than it is at the moment. We'll probably end up putting some kind of bridge access in anyway, because it's still pretty steep, as you can see. Excuse me. In fact, what may be a bit quicker is if we set points like that, drag the slopes out. We're using the level terrain, but we're just moving nice and quickly so it doesn't build up a very high level. What we can also do is we can drag gradients across this way, and then we can use the smoothing tool to then flatten everything out a bit. So we can come in now and we can start to smooth this area out a bit. We do need to go a bit lower, so we need to push this across a bit. This bit here actually we will flatten out as much as we can. Just through this central section, this is where the road's going to run. Now if we stretch that and drag it like that, we've got something to work with to smooth our terrain. Let's try and bring this under control a little bit better, have a more gradual descent. We might probably have done it a little bit, but you'll see the effect of what I'm trying to do. We can kind of stretch some of this out a bit, have a slightly more natural kind of gradient. Yeah, we could do with stepping that down a bit. So again, we can do the same with our terrain shifting here. We can manually raise and lower our terrain. We're actually raising it there, I think, aren't we? Yes, we are. Let's start to step the terrain down all the way through here then. Just a little bit. Got to go down at various different points to create that point along here. We've overdone it over here. And again, we can smooth out this area. With the smoothing tool to lessen some of these chasms that we're creating. See, we're kind of merging that back together a bit, leveling it out. Now we can kind of start to drag this slope this way. So we're smoothing out that kind of incline, leveling it out a bit, and again we can smooth and stretch that down this way, and we're getting a more kind of level center through this section as well, so we don't have it on a very thin point where it'll distort the landscape or the road quite a bit to drag that through. So we've got this kind of channel that has a good sort of balance through it. We may still need to do a bit more sort of tweaking and pulling and shaping. Certainly over here that needs to be flat again. So we'll flatten that area out. Go back to smoothing. It's not quite gone down gradually enough, but if we look on the side, you can see we've got a much more gradual slope than we did before. And again, we can kind of pull the terrain along with us this way. Push it down towards our ground level. Let's see what a road looks like on there now. So we want, ideally we want two-way highway. So let's go with a road here. What we'll do is we'll probably have 6-lane road feeding in. I'll just upgrade our entry point, and then we can have a split where our two freeways merge at this point and then feed into the roundabout there. So I'm going to want a little bit of a step. I'll put my access kind of crossroad there. And I want my two roads to kind of run there and there. So from here we want that to link in nice and smoothly if we can. It's a little bit of a curve like that, but that's okay because from that point there the road is going to curve around with a freeform. So let's start with the inside road first. Let's go freeform. We want to bring this down. That's too much. Let's take it to there. There we go, it's a bit more gradual. And run the road down like that. That looks pretty good. You know, that's a nice, easy-ish kind of gradient. It's not too steep. It looks relatively smooth. It's not really rough like that, you know. But it doesn't look too steep. I'm quite happy with that. So let's put some joining spaces in. So we can try and bring this around and keep our two-lane spacing. This might be a bit trickier, so what I'll do here is actually I'll take that off there. Might have to step away just a little bit over this part and then curve back in this way. That's too close, you see. Let's try reworking this ever so slightly. These aren't going to be perfectly parallel roads, but if I can try and at least keep that 2-lane spacing relatively consistent, might be easier to actually try and drop in a couple of these roads now as plot points through this section. And these will temporarily kind of mess up the road through here, but once we take those out, we'll be in a better position again. So we want a road to run like that. That's pretty much 2 lanes through, and then same along here. Take that out, and that's smoothed those out a little bit already. It's a slight step in elevation change over there. I can live with that. There we go. And then the next step will be to run those across and then link those onto the roundabout just here. So, just wary of time, we are overrunning ever so slightly. Let's bring this road out this way. Get this to approach the roundabout, and I'm probably going to need to put in just a temporary cross piece here to stop the roundabout from distorting. Let's try and get that to connect up there. And then that, we bring that down just a little bit more. We can try and curve in. It doesn't want to do it. I might need to sharpen the approach angle a little bit. Alright, let's try putting in a brace point there. Let's see if I can get away with this. It's just going to mess everything up. Nope, that works. Take the bracing points out, and there we go. We've got a dual carriageway feed that runs all the way across to there. Let's just get rid of that piece. We'll get those roads upgraded so that they're highway roads, 3-lane highways at the very least. Maybe just leave them at 2-lane highways. And then we can start to zone in our businesses in this area. Make sure that our road network is all pointing in the right direction, that everything's covered where it needs to be covered. And then we can unpause our city and see what happens. And then we can try and obviously make sure our railway gets connected up. We can try and work on some kind of tram route to connect people out to the area a bit as well. Maybe add road access points coming off this way as a temporary road until we can expand into this area down here. We've got a few things that we can do, and we'll start looking at that next time out. So that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Green Cities Cleanup Crew Challenge very soon.